Just actually verbally cue me so I know and don't get paranoid. Hi everyone, I'm Sasha Reeser.
I'm Abby Hines, and we are two of the seniors and chiefs of staff on the team this year. We want to thank you first so much for coming to the Speech and Debate Spring Showcase. This is an event we typically host every winter, but we know this year has been anything but typical. So we are here tonight to support our team, teach you a little something about what we do every Saturday, and celebrate all of the great work we have done this season.
Several members of our team have prepared shortened versions of their pieces that they usually perform to showcase some of the different events that Speech and Debate has to offer. We'll be showing off several different categories of events so you can get a sense of how each one works, from dramatic interpretation to a mock debate.
Thank you again for your support, and we hope you enjoy all of the wonderful performances you see tonight. Now, let's get on with the show. First up, we have a super fun event called Children's Literature, where you take a children's story and adapt it into a comedic performance. This is an interp and a reading event, which means you hold the script of your piece in a little black binder and use it to further your storytelling. Jason Stein, our Massachusetts state champion in Kitty Lit this year, is here with an excerpt from Stregonona.
Hello, my name is Jason Stein, and I do Kitty Lit. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, basically, I recite a children's story. This year my piece was Stregonona by Tommy DePaula.
In that town called Calabria, a long time ago, there lived an old lady everybody called Stregonona, which meant Grandma Witch. Although all the people in town talked about her in whispers, they all went to see her if they had any troubles. Even the priest and the sisters of the convent went, because everybody knew Stregonona did have a magic touch. She could cure a headache with oil, water, and a hairpin. She made special potions for girls looking for husbands. And she was very good at getting rid of warts. But Stregonona was getting old, and she needed help to keep her little house and garden. So she put up a sign in town square, and Big Anthony, who didn't pay much attention, went to go see her.
Anthony, you must sweep the house and wash the dishes. You must weed the garden and pick the vegetables, and you must feed the goat and milk her. For this I'll give you 3 coins, a place to sleep, and food to eat.
Oh, grazie, Stregonona.
Oh, and one thing you must never do is touch the pasta pot. It is very valuable, and I don't let anybody touch it.
Everyone who has ever had a grandma knows exactly what it's like to be supplied with an endless parade of food. Especially when you don't want it. You know how it goes.
Jason, have a brownie. I made them just for you. But you're so absurdly skinny, the doctor says you need to eat more.
Stregonona's magic pasta pot, however, might just give my grandma a run for her money. Big Anthony learns this the hard way in
Stregonona
by Tommy DePaula.
And so the days went by. Big Anthony did his work, and Stregonona met with the people who came to see her for headaches, husbands, and warts. Big Anthony had a nice bed to sleep in, and he had food to eat. One day, however, when he was milking the goat, he overheard Stregonona singing. Peeking in through the window, he saw she was standing over the pasta pot. She sang,
Babble, babble, pasta pot. Boil me some pasta nice and hot. I'm hungry and it's time to sup. So boil me some pasta to fill me up.
And suddenly the pasta pot began to bubble and boil and fill with steaming hot pasta. Then Stregonona sang again.
Enough, my pasta pot. I have my pasta nice and hot. So simmer down my pot of clay until I'm hungry another day.
That is a magic pasta pot for sure. And with that, Stregonona called Big Anthony in for supper. But too bad for Big Anthony, because he didn't see Stregonona blow 3 kisses to the magic pasta pot. And this is what happened.
You'll see Jason again at the end of the program when he performs with his brother. But now we're going to have Lily Copeland perform some of her original oratory, an event where students write their own speech with the goal of persuading an audience. The topic can really be anything you want as long as you put in the work to do the research, form a thesis, and present it to the judges and fellow competitors. Here's an excerpt from her original oratory. Turn the page.
One day I was walking to school minding my own business. That's when two men who looked like monstrous creatures approached me. They grabbed me by my wrists and threw me in the back of their car. Silenced. Alone. Now, here's the kicker. This isn't exactly my story. It's Pinocchio's. This was the made-up tale Pinocchio told to the fairy in order to avoid explaining why he didn't go to school. And yet, you believe this happened to me, just because you were invested in the emotional story I told. And that's what happens on a number of fronts. I apologize if you feel manipulated by my story, but that's the point. Congratulations! You are now a part of my speech. We start hearing stories and blurring fiction with reality when we're young, believing in fairy tales. We believe in these stories because humans think almost purely with emotion. According to Psychology Today, 80% of the decisions made by the American people are based solely on feeling, leaving only 20% to be based on actuality. Storytelling is a device that shapes our daily existence, and many of these stories serve a real purpose and move us forward. But they can also be used to manipulate us. I have two examples that will demonstrate exactly what I mean, but before I dive into them, I'm first going to provide two pieces of context. First, let's look at the impact of telling stories through our most trusted and reliable source of news and information, social media, and how it can actually be a catalyst for distorting reality. Then let's look at how we as consumers can be influenced by those narratives in the decisions we make, both in the products we buy and in our analysis of current events. Then, with that as the prologue, we will turn the page for the very real stories that will prove my case. In a world where stories are presented to us in everyday life, we as people must fight human instincts and see what is beyond the surface. When we do this, we are able to act in what is best for ourselves and the world around us. In the digital age we live in today, the most common way to tell stories is through social media. According to Digital Media Productions, the average person consumes more than 10 hours of media a day. According to Pew Research Center, those who rely on social media to get their news and information are less likely to get the full accurate story. And according to a study conducted by the Child Mind Institute, teenagers and young adults who use social media are 66% more likely to have depressive symptoms related to these very things. Clinical psychologist Dr. Alexandra Hamlet says, girls are constantly posting the most perfect pictures of themselves. If that's their model for what is normal, it can be very hard on their self-confidence. Professionally speaking, according to London-based firm Articulate Marketing, 68% of all marketing is fictionalized to some extent. Brands often sell consumers on stretched truths or emotional stories in order to get them to buy product. Now, while the ad promise may be false, the truth is, we are often taken advantage of, which in its worst case can put people and their families in danger. So now you've heard the prologue and the foreshadowing. Dun dun dun! Ready for the 3 stories that prove my case? Once upon a time, there was an 18-year-old girl by the name of Zainab Patty. Finally, an adult celebrating her birthday, she put on some red lipstick, held her balloons high, and smiled largely. This moment was captured in an Instagram photo for all to see. Clearly, it portrayed the story of the happy teen we wished we could all be. Right? Well, sadly, that's where Zainab's story came to an end, because she committed suicide just moments after pressing share. Metro News even interviewed family members who had expressed they had no idea what was happening behind closed doors, even though that door was just down the hall. This story is real. This is not a fairy tale. Turn the page. Now we meet Princess Elizabeth Holmes. In her castle, Holmes started a company called Theranos, which sold blood tests that she said could detect any disease early. She appealed to consumers, telling an emotional story of an uncle who had died of cancer. She wept on TV talking about it. We as consumers wept with her. But fortunately, she had a product that could prevent this from happening to us. Her company then gained so much traction that, according to Business Insider, Holmes had acquired $9 billion. But now, here's the plot twist. Princess Holmes was actually no princess at all. She was a villain. The blood tests were fake, and Holmes had preyed on human emotion and fear of illness and death in order to selfishly gain wealth and power. Ultimately, she was caught, leading to a possible 20 years in the dungeon for Elizabeth Holmes. This story is real. This is not a fairy tale. These stories aren't one-offs from some faraway land. People are constantly being manipulated like this in everyday life. So let's put these examples into present-day context. Social media use is up 10% since the pandemic began, and medical misinformation has gone viral, fueled by COVID. I mean, if we ingest cleaning solution into our bodies, COVID will just disappear, right? And no matter which side of the spectrum you sit on, we have witnessed firsthand how misinformation can threaten our very democracy. So, how are we going to give this a rewrite?
Hey everybody, I'm VJ. I'm a junior at Needham High School, and I do Lincoln Douglas debate. I'm the overall captain, and we're going to be doing a little debate showcase today on the topic of whether or not the United States should guarantee universal child care, which would be a free child care system. I'm going to be debating Sophie, who is the courageous novice who volunteered to debate me. We're having a novice versus captain debate for our showcase. Lincoln Douglas debate is a 1-versus-1 debate with usually one judge in the room and one opponent, obviously. And it's a really fun activity. And Sophie's going to introduce herself really quick and we'll get into the debate.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm a sophomore and a novice.
So Sophie will be debating the affirmative, which is that the United States should have universal childcare. And you can start whenever you want.
Okay. I proudly affirm the resolution resolved the United States ought to guarantee universal childcare. Elizabeth Warren's universal childcare and early learning plan would make childcare available to all families at no cost or an affordable cost, establish standards that support childhood development, provide developmental services for children who need support, and strengthen pay and benefits for the childcare and early education workforce. Contention 1. Universal childcare will increase the well-being of families. There in 2020 says, in 1942, the U.S. government passed the Lanham Act, a universal child care plan. Centers were required to meet very high standards, teachers were well trained and well compensated, and the program was found to have a net positive impact on home life and family relations. A 2017 study in the Journal of Labor Economics by Chris Herbst found that the program had long-lasting positive outcomes. People who participated were found to have reached higher levels of education and had better employment opportunities. And this brings me to contention 2, universal childcare's positive impact on the United States economy. Universal childcare would support the economy. Economist Jorge Garcia and others in a 2019 research paper state, economic development starts with early childhood development. Research shows that for every dollar invested in high-quality early childhood education, society gains up to $7.30 in economic returns. Conversely, lack of affordable, reliable childcare takes a major toll on the economy, as working families across the country lose more than $8 billion in wages annually. And again, universal childcare would increase workforce participation and support the economy, as can be seen in Washington, D.C. According to Malik in 2018, the District of Columbia's 2 years of free preschool were a game changer. This report finds in the years since Washington, D.C. began offering 2 years of universal preschool, the city's maternal labor force participation rate increased about 12%. Policies could contribute to faster growth in gross domestic product, stronger financial security, and fewer career sacrifices by women. Economic growth also means a higher standard of living and the ability to devote more resources to areas such as healthcare and education. For these reasons, I proudly affirm.
Thank you. And I'll be debating the negative side, which is that we should not guarantee universal childcare. I proudly negate the resolution that the United States ought not guarantee universal childcare. My first contention is about the feasibility of this idea. Do you hate increased taxes? I know that I'm not a big fan of losing my money. The utopian plan would not be economically or logistically feasible, Salam in 2019 explains. A new federal childcare program risks increasing the federal deficit, driving up the cost of childcare, and squeezing stay-at-home parents. Providers that come to depend on the government, Legres, can do an awfully good job of extracting more of it over time. Lawmakers are reluctant to strip benefits, and federal deficits are expected to exceed over $2 trillion by the end of the next decade. Spending on social insurance programs will increase sharply as the US population ages. Imagine that a federal childcare program could indeed be paid for. We still don't even have enough teachers for the program in the first place. If I had a kid, I wouldn't want them in a class of 50 students. Levine in 2019 showed that the industry as a whole has always stumbled with high labor turnover as the jobs offer low pay and high stress. The median wage for childcare workers is only about $10 an hour, competing with public school salaries. According to the Associated Press, the median annual pay for childcare workers increased by 13%. During the same period, the pool of US childcare workers dropped down 21,000 people, or 3.5% of the workforce. And my second contention is quality standards. The Norwegian universal childcare proves that absent strict regulatory standards that were not highlighted in my opponent's case, the systems would be unequal in their benefits. Rege and others in 2018. Norway was considered a frontrunner with publicly subsidized universal childcare. However, regulatory standards were lenient and imprecise, which contributed to large quality differences. The systems increased disparities in school readiness. And our analyses demonstrate a significant variation in school readiness skills at the age of 5. And there are inevitable trade-offs. Universal systems are either high quality and low access, or high access and low quality. According to Oldham in 2016, the French model is what started the preschool for all revolution, but only 20% of families ever have access because the government cannot meet growing demand. In Germany, guaranteed childcare is guaranteed for all children over the age of 1. And the German government is quickly building and converting as many daycare facilities as possible. Our right to childcare is much different than our right to quality childcare. The German model suffers from infrastructure and personnel issues, and only 3% of German facilities were of good quality. Furthermore, Biden's recent child tax credit is much better, which will give money to parents wanting to homeschool their children as well. The affirmative plan is just too costly and inefficient. To summarize, Sophie lives in a utopia where we can afford to give billions to fund thousands of new teachers, build new schools, and make childcare free. The reality is far from this. There aren't enough teachers, and the program would have socioeconomic and racial disparities. Thus, I urge you to negate. Now we're going to do a short cross-examination where we're going to go back and forth. So Sophie, if you want, you can ask the first question.
Okay. So wouldn't you agree that by having all children in universal childcare programs, a degree of accountability would be created?
I think that right now private programs still have some accountability because they are overseen by the federal government. But I think that it could even create less accountability, and in the fact that there's lots of public schools that aren't held accountable for really horrible things that they do, especially because they may be underfunded which would most likely occur in this sort of program.
Okay.
My question is, what are the quality standards of teachers under Elizabeth Warren's plan? Like, is there any regulation for what teachers would be allowed to be hired?
Right. So likely under this plan, teachers would be required to have a college education, be trained in childcare, and they would actually be paid better than they would otherwise. So there's more incentive for them to be the best teachers they possibly can.
That makes sense. Do you have another question?
Okay. So you talk about quality, but would you say that the universal childcare centers or childcare centers that are now in place are high quality?
I would say that they are higher quality than in your program. On average, in the United States, private schools are a lot higher quality than public schools. And part of that is because they're privately funded. I think that the public school system has a lot of problems in the fact that it's very segregated and there's a lot of really poor quality schools. And I think that that would similarly happen in a program with universal childcare. And my last question is, when you say teachers would need a college education, does that specify that they would need mental health education and sort of specific education, or would the standards be low? And given my evidence that there's already a lack of teachers, how would this college education requirement affect the supply of teachers that you have for the program?
Right. So first of all, teachers would likely need to go through training on mental health, although this is not specified in Warren's plan that I cited, but positively would be included in real life. So you stated the shortage of teachers. As I stated, by raising the pay and benefits for childcare and early education workforce, they're actually increasing the workforce. By creating more jobs, more people are likely to go out, get trained, and be able to do these jobs. And additionally, most of the workforce that is childcare and early education is made up of women. And as I stated, there will be an increase of women in the workforce by instating universal childcare.
That makes sense. And do you have any more questions?
No.
Okay, that'll be the end of our debate. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And thanks, Sophie.
Thank you.
Mr. Cunningham accidentally had my audio turned off earlier, so sorry about that. But what you just saw was a mock Lincoln-Douglas debate. Lincoln-Douglas, or LD, is a 1v1 form of debate with topics that are centered around philosophy and ethics. So tonight you just saw our varsity LD captain and our state champion, VJ Fish, debate one of our novices, who is a state quarterfinalist, Sophie Bierman.
So back to a few speech events, Evan Eiler will perform an impromptu speech. This is a limited prep event, so in typical round, competitors are given a prompt, which can be a quote, a general idea, a song title, really anything. And they're given 6 minutes total to prepare and deliver their speech with a thesis and examples to support that topic. Evan will explain further and share his speech topic.
Hello everyone, my name is Evan Eiler and I will be giving an impromptu speech. So normally for impromptu speeches you have 6 minutes in total. You receive a prompt just before your 6 minutes starts and you have usually about 2 minutes is recommended to prepare for a 4-minute speech. But I'm going to save you guys all the gory details and just get straight into my speech and assume my 2 minutes has passed. My topic for the speech will be pencil lead. So generally when we think of the great works of literature found through our society, be it the Declaration of Independence or even Harry Potter, we think of the great authors behind them, who used their skills behind pens and pencils to craft on pieces of paper literature that will be referenced for ages to continue and change our society, possibly for the better. However, had it not been for the pencils and pens, more specifically the pencil lead, then none of these changes to history would be possible, as they may quite well be forgotten. And it is these pieces of pencil lead that allow these authors to craft such great literature that is read by thousands of other people, that create the true success of this literature. And this idea of small, maybe less significant pieces, helping create these much greater goals that pervades throughout our society. And this is seen in 3 examples. First off, in the story of Eleanor Roosevelt, second off, in the story of Fezzik and the Princess Bride, and third off, in my own experience. So generally, when people think of the 1930s and 40s, they think of two of the greatest crises the world has ever seen. Of course, I'm talking about the Great Depression and World War II, a time filled with chaos that the United States may not have survived had it not been for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the greatest presidents to ever sit in the Oval Office. And sit he did quite literally. But it was this support from his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, who provided great morale during the Great Depression and World War II, and sometimes even weighed in on policy matters that allowed him to become such a great president that is well known to this day. And had it not been for Eleanor Roosevelt's support, well, we may have a much different nation than the one that we have today. Now, when it comes to supporting, shall we say, more classically known leads, no better story is seen than Fezzik and the Princess Bride. Now, when people think of the Princess Bride, they think of the three main cunning characters of Wesley, the lowly farm boy who's looking to find his true love, of Inigo, who just wants to avenge the wrongful death of his father, and Vicini, who's just in it for the money. But it is Fezzik that allows all three of these men, or at least two of them, to accomplish their goals. He uses his brute strength to help break through the castle walls and allow Wesley to recover his true love, and Inigo to enact revenge upon the six-fingered man. And had it not been for Fezzik, neither Wesley nor Inigo wouldn't have been able to get to those points. And Fezzik, well, the biggest thing is that he never has any goal that he wants to accomplish. He is just along for the ride, helping support his friends with no real initiatives to back him up. And for this, he is truly honored. So I may not be helping my friends' romantic advances or even their avenging their dead fathers, but I did help one friend with one very major piece of his student council election race. And while he did end up losing, he did receive quite a bit of help, at least in his college essay sections. And had it not been for my help, he would not have this great story to tell, a great story full of drama and a variety of different things that happened along the campaign route, where he got so close to a margin of victory in the presidential seat and came oh so close but seemed to fail. And had it not been for this story, he may not have gotten into one of his top colleges. And I don't like to take all the credit, as I am merely a piece of pencil lead in this equation, helping him get to the point where he finished. So it is these pieces of pencil lead, be it Eleanor Roosevelt, be it Fezzik and the Princess Bride, or even myself in my friends' presidential advances, that help these great people become greater, with no real help or goals in mind. And it is these great people that allow our writings to be written down and allow our greatness to become greater, through their sacrifice while taking such very little in return. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed my speech and enjoyed the rest of this fundraiser.
Last but certainly not least is duo interpretation, an event where you and a partner perform a dramatic piece with blocking and characterization. It's definitely very different on Zoom, but Jack and Jason Stein have done great this year with their piece and will perform an excerpt from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Hello, I'm Jack Stein and I'm an overall captain this year.
I'm Jason Stein, and I'm also an overall captain this year, and today we will be performing a duo. A duo is basically a 10-minute play performed between two people.
We will be performing our piece, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Just an excerpt from it. Who are you?
We are the knights who say me.
No, not the knights who say me.
We are the keepers of the sacred words. Me, bring a new.
Those who hear them seldom live to tell the tale.
The knights who say me demand a sacrifice.
Oh, knights of Ni, we are but simple travelers who seek the path beyond these woods.
If you do not appease us, we shall say me again.
Well, what is it you want?
We want a shrubbery.
A what? Oh, please, 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 no more. We shall find you a shrubbery.
If you do not return here with the shrubbery, you will never pass through this wood alive!
Oh, Knights of Knee, you are just and fair, and we shall return with a shrubbery.
One that looks nice!
Yes.
And not too expensive!
Of course.
Now, go!
Bum bum ba-dum bum ba-da bum ba-da bum bum bum. Ooh, old woman. Man. Oh, man, sorry. What knight lives in that castle over there?
I'm 37.
What?
I'm 37, I'm not old.
Well, I can't just call you man.
Well, you could call me Dennis.
Well, I didn't know you were called Dennis.
Well, you didn't bother to ask, did ya?
I did say sorry about the old woman thing, but from behind you look...
What I object to is that you automatically treat me like an inferior.
Well, I am king.
Oh, king, eh? And how'd you get that? By exploiting the workers, by hanging on to an outdated imperialist dogma which perpetuates the economic and social differences in our society? If there's ever gonna be any progress with the... Dennis, there's some lovely filth over here. Oh, how do you do?
How do you do, good lady? I am Arthur, King of the Britons.
King of the who?
The Britons.
Who are the Britons?
Well, we all are. We are all Britons, and I am your king.
I thought we were an autonomous collective. You're fooling yourself! We're living in a dictatorship!
As your king, I order you to be quiet!
Well, I didn't vote for you.
You don't vote for kings!
Well, how did you become king, then?
The Lady of the Lake. Ah, her arm clad in the purest shimmering samite. Ah, held aloft Excalibur from the bosom of the water. Ah, signifying by divine providence that I, Arthur, was to carry Excalibur. And that is why I am your king.
Listen. Strange woman lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from some partial aquatic ceremony.
Shut up! Shut up, will you?
I mean, if I went round saying I was emperor, just because some moistened bint had lobbed a scimitar at me, they'd put me away.
Shut up!
Oh, come and see the violence inherent in the system. Help, help, I'm being repressed.
Bloody peasants!
Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? That's what I'm on about. Did you see him repressing me? You saw it, didn't you?
And that's all for right now. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Great job to all of our amazing performers tonight. Thank you all so much for sharing the work that you've done this year. Thank you all again for being here to support Needham Speech and Debate, and we hope you enjoyed and learned a little bit more about what we spend so much time on.
We also want to thank all of our amazing coaches, Mr. Wexler, Mr. Cunningham, Tyler Bates, Jackson Carr, Adam Neer, and Joanna Goldenberg, everyone who's helped us out this year with these pieces. We couldn't do anything without you. And a major thanks to Friends of Speech and Debate, our wonderful booster organization that supports us so much in everything we do.
Please consider donating to support our team throughout the rest of the year and at our national tournaments in years to come. You can search Google for NHS Friends of Speech and Debate and hit the top search result to find more information on our website. We hope to return to in-person tournaments next year, and your donations help fund the student travel to regional and national tournaments, as well as support materials for our students. Thank you so much once again, and have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.